Hello, everyone, and welcome to the DCU Soccer podcast. This is our first episode, and I've asked someone that I've been talking to on Twitter. I'm sure a lot of you have as well, um, and he agreed to come on as a guest to kind of recap the games and talk about a lot of the other topics this week. So could you introduce yourself to the audience?
Hello, my name is James, and I am at DC United Kingdom.
Sweet. I'm sure a lot of people might be wondering, you're in the United Kingdom, like how did you get
Yep.
into DC United, maybe MLS in general? So maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, it is a bit strange that there is MLS fans in the UK, because it's still not massive over here yet, but it is growing, which is great to see. Um, for me, when I first started watching DC United, it was probably not that long ago. Then that's only because of accessibility to the sport. But I have been following DC United properly since around 2004. I was first kind of made known to DC United where in 1996, when the club actually first originated, and that was all down to Jaime Moreno, who used to play for my club in England. So that was that, and then 2004 rolled around, and a little young starlet by the name of Freddie Adu. He came around, and I still do play. There's a game called Football Manager, and he was one of the biggest, and if not to date, the biggest talents who have been on the game. And obviously, he joined DC United. He signed his pro contract there, and kind of managed them, and that's kind of it blossomed from there, really. So I've been a big DC United fan for quite a long time now.
That's awesome. It's always cool to hear because I'm not necessarily used to the MLS being something that people from overseas or other countries or even like honestly too much here
Yeah.
being into. But out of curiosity, you've said you've been following for a while. Like, how have you seen like the perception maybe of MLS change or like the fanship grow? Like, how is that like manifesting itself? Like out of curiosity.
Yeah, so from when I kind of first started watching it, nobody knew what it was. Obviously, that was when I first kind of got known to it. The only people that I knew who knew of MLS was people who played Football Manager. And then when it started getting a bit more hype behind it, so when Beckham came over to the Galaxy, that's when it kind of started becoming more well known in England and in the UK in general. And it was kind of at that point seen to be kind of a retirement league, and some people still do think it's that. But now, because of the likes of Rooney's gone over, there's Zlatan, even though he is of however old he is, he's in his 30s. He's still not anywhere near retiring. And you've had the likes of Giovinco. We've had Altidore, who was over at Sunderland and Hull City before he came back to Toronto. We've had loads of players, and it's kind of now starting to see that actually it's a league that players and fans actually want to watch rather than it just being it's just where someone goes and gets their retirement funds.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How is like I've seen some of the stuff you shared on Twitter, but
Mm.
I'm curious like how's the process of like actually watching it from from the UK, like how I guess how painful is it if it is, I guess.
Well, all I'm going to say is you've got Flow FC, haven't you?
Well,
And that's
well,
that's painful.
yeah.
Um, for the UK, it's a hell of a lot easier to actually catch all the games because you've got for us, we've got a broadcaster called Sky Sports. I don't know whether you've come across them before.
Yeah, I've been to the UK a few times, but
Fair.
yeah.
So yeah, so for the people who are listening who don't know, the main broadcaster for sports in the UK is Sky Sports. They've got rights to MLS on TV. Then there is now another company called Free Sport who launched this year, and they are showing MLS matches on free-to-air TV, so you don't even have to pay for that, which is absolutely fantastic. And then you've got a betting company called Bet365 who actually have the rights to stream online every single MLS match. So for me to actually, if DC United aren't on Sky Sports and they're not on Free Sports, I can actually catch up through Bet365 and still I can literally watch every single game and not worry after being on a geographical blackout or anything.
Oh well, that's really nice. I guess the only that is massively like worse, I guess, would be the timing and stuff. But of course, you
Mm.
can't really do
I
anything
can't do
about
much
that. I
about
mean,
that one, unfortunately.
yeah, I mean, even for us, honestly, like those West Coast games, which I watch as much as I can, like
Yeah.
they're on 10:30 here. Like I don't know how anyone
What,
else is doing
10:30
that.
p.m. is that? 10:30 in the evening? That's
Yeah,
insane.
yeah.
Uh,
I think like I don't remember exactly what game. I think it was one of the LAFC games recently. It was on 10:30, and I'm like, I can make it to halftime, and then I pretty much passed out.
I see that's kind of the norm for me now, watching the games at 10:30. So it was was it the Toronto game that was on for me? It was like it kicked off at 1:30 in the morning, and I just stayed up and watched the whole game. And my wife's just like, "Are you genuinely staying up?" And I'm like, "Yeah, might as well. I'm gonna get used to it." And yeah, the only one I've missed so far this season was the Houston match. But that was probably more because I had a few drinks. I was a little bit drunk.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, kind of same, but um, yeah, yeah, cool. I know you made a trip up here, I think
Yeah,
twice to go to Audi Field. Can
yes,
you like
correct.
talk to me a little bit about maybe how like the stadium's obviously different than some of the you know, ones in Premier League Championship
Yeah.
in the UK, and also like the environment. I guess beer prices are higher here, like we've talked about.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so curious about like the compare and contrasting that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, as you said, I've been to Audi Field twice now. And yeah, the first time was last August, when you guys were having that massive heat wave. So that was I went to the Philadelphia Union game, and that was just a sweatbox. And it was an evening game, and it was like 34, 35 degrees Celsius. Um, and the humidity was really high. So, but that first kind of impression that the stadium gave me when I arrived there, it was just like, oh wow. I was just genuinely surprised. So the stadiums that I'm used to in the UK, they kind of usually seat around about 30 to 35,000. So my home team in the UK is Middlesbrough. Their stadium is 35,000. It was built in 1995. So by stadiums of today, it's actually now becoming one of the more older stadiums. But at the time, it was revolutionary in the stadium design and everything. Um, and the stadiums in the UK seem to be kind of more, I don't know, enclosed, I want to say. Whilst Audi Field feels a lot more open, you can roam around a lot more. Because as soon as I got to Audi Field this time around, anyway, I was able to kind of just walk pretty much right around the grounds and get to different parts. Whilst in the UK, you've got the home and away fan segregation, so you can't get to every part of the stadium, and they kind of really box you off. And if you're in the north stand, you have to stay in the north stand. You can't go to the east stand. You can't go to the west stand. You're very much segregated because they're really worried about, unfortunately, violence in the stands over here. Whilst in my two visits to Audi Field, that just doesn't seem to be a massive concern or anything, which is great because it's nice to be able to go into the stand and actually have your beer in the stand as well. I don't know whether you know, in the UK, you're not allowed to, in in football anyway, or soccer, you're not allowed to have your drinks in the stadium, in the
Yeah.
stands, which is a
Jeez. Yeah.
massive shame. But again, it's a lot cheaper. Um, so I think a pint of Heineken, which is what I had at Audi Field, compared to the UK, is usually probably about £5 or £6. So into dollars, that's probably about $7 or $8. And then you compared it to Audi Field, and it was $13, and I was like, whoa,
Yeah. Right.
okay, I was not expecting that much. I was expecting expensive, but not
Right.
$13 expensive.
Yeah, I think that is I mean obviously stadiums are always more expensive, but
Oh
I
yeah.
definitely noticed that like I like in New York, DC, like even in general, like beer is just really it's really hard to find a place with like genuinely cheap beer for some
Yeah.
reason.
Uh,
I don't quite understand it.
yeah, I don't think that's just down to being at the stadiums. I think that's just general, isn't it? And but then when you compare um, DC and New York, as we just said there, the closest comparison to the UK is going to be London. And when you compare those prices together, they're very much the same. So it's just in the UK, there's a lot more places where you can get cheaper beer. But in the cities, it's usually the similar sort of prices, to be honest.
Right. And one of the other things is I don't believe that like in the UK you can like have drums and stuff like that. I don't think that that's a thing either. Um,
Um,
is that correct?
the Some stadiums do allow drums and things. You've got Fratton Park, which is Portsmouth. They've got a band in there. Um, they do allow instruments in there, but it's not as well known as in US sport in general, to be honest. But it does happen from time to time, especially international games as well. You've got the England Barmy Army, who are usually very loud and very proud.
Right.
So you said you've been to the UK on occasions. Whereabouts have you been? Have you actually been to any sports over here?
No, we didn't go to any games, but
Hmm.
I've been to the UK a couple times. I wish my dad were here because he took us all over when I was like, 12 and then I think around 14, 15, 16.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely I've been to London. My dad grew up in a town called, I believe it was called Marlow. Does that sound right? A
Marlow?
really
That does ring a bell, yeah?
really small town, and
Yeah.
I got to see his like childhood house. And we went to so my dad is a history professor, and so we went and one of his specialties is the slave trade. So he writes a lot about
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Oh wow.
So he did a lot of research there. So we got to go around and see a lot of like the historical stuff, which I loved, especially back then because I was really into history and I had never been like I had been to like Mexico before, like on a vacation, but I
Yeah.
hadn't been like to like another place that had a lot of different museums and like I'm not just on a beach, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went around England a lot. We were in Wales for a little bit,
Yep.
which I forget why, but yeah,
Probably
I remember
it's
seeing. I honestly, and this sounds cliche, but what I remember from going to Wales was literally seeing hills and sheep. That's literally what I remember. And I know that's a
Oh,
thing, so like it
it
sounds
is a
ridiculous,
massive thing, yeah. I'm glad you
but
said that. I'm
it's
so glad.
true. That's what I remember. And I
Yeah.
also remember like my dad because we drove everywhere because we were there for a while. I think
Yeah.
even both times, trying to drive and on the different side of the road, and that was very interesting a couple times.
You see,
Um,
that's the complete other way around for me because when I went to America for the first time, I actually drove in Orlando, and that was bizarre for me because you guys on the interstates, I d is it true that it doesn't matter what you can overtake and undertake? Because that was just weird. Because
what
I
do you mean
caused,
by overtake and undertake? I don't have
so you've got the multiple lanes on the carriageways.
right.
You can be in the middle lane and people can overtake you on either side.
Oh yes, yeah they can pass you, yeah.
Yeah, because whilst over here in England, that's illegal to
People
undertake.
Yeah, so there it's it's something that I think that I don't know if they're necessarily changing, but they don't necessarily encourage that kind of thing. That there's
Yeah,
usually like what we call like a fast lane and a slow lane.
yeah,
And so they encourage you when you're learning to drive to like only like yeah, pass people, go into the fast lane and then pass someone.
yeah,
But yeah, it's definitely not illegal and people definitely do it and there's a lot of people here who like get really upset about that kind of stuff, especially like, oh, you're being slow in the fast lane or whatever. So
yeah.
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that was very interesting for me. I always wanted to like I was very curious about that kind of stuff with like the UK and MLS and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, so one of the things that happened this week was that we saw the 40-man preliminary roster for the Gold Cup,
Yes.
um, which had a DC United player, Paul Arriola.
Yep.
So yeah, what did you think about that? I'm actually extremely curious about this as well because like obviously it's a regional tournament and like how familiar are you with like the U.S. men's national team and like the Gold Cup and CONCACAF as a region?
Um, will be honest. The Gold Cup, it doesn't have that much media coverage over here at all, if any. So when it's kind of announced, it's kind of like it's it's not a massive thing at all. So, but obviously now the more I'm watching MLS and seeing actually the players that are called up to the squad, I'm actually taking a lot more notice now. My wife should probably thinks I'm I may as well be American in myself. How much I
Yeah.
actually take notice these days. Even to when I do play my football manager game, all I ever do is just do the MLS leagues now. That's all I ever care about when I'm doing stuff. So it's interesting to see the squad. I mean, it's great to see Ariola in there. He just definitely deserves to be in there. And obviously, we're probably going to talk about Bill Hamid in a moment, and his lack of appearances. And how the hell is Brad Guzan in the squad?
Yeah, yeah, I think
That was a good reaction.
um, I've said this a couple times. I mean, I tweeted about this too. Like, it's surprising and not surprising at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's surprising because especially as uh, DC United fans, like we know Bill Hamid is one of the best, if not the best goalkeeper in
Yeah.
MLS, if not,
Statistically, he is, isn't he?
yeah, yeah, statistically he is, and
Yeah.
like if I'm thinking like if I would rather have a goalkeeper from any other team, like I can't think of a team or a name or anything like that, and so it's kind of puzzling that there isn't even a chance given,
Yeah.
especially with a roster that's so large.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah,
I've just got the roster up in front of me right now, and you've got five goalkeepers in the roster there. So you've got Guzan, you've got Ethan Horvath from Club Bruges, who's obviously over here. Sean Johnson, who, to be honest, when he had a great game against DC when we were at the Yankee Stadium, that was just an insane performance from him. Tyler Miller, I've not really seen much of him, so I can't really comment. But Zach Stefan, he's been fantastic as well, I think. If there's going to be any keeper that I would say to replace Bill Hamid in goal, for me, it would have to be him.
yeah, for sure. I think Stefan's definitely locked in as the number one, and I
Yeah,
think one of the other I mean, obviously he's probably our best keeper in the pool, especially in terms of like the multiple different skill sets he has. But
yeah,
I also know that he needs some international games, competitive games, so that he can get his visa for when he gets transferred this summer, I believe. So
that's correct. Yeah, and he's coming over to the Premiership with Man City.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm not sure if he'll get loaned out or what'll happen, but it's definitely a big deal for MLS. I mean, I think the
Yeah,
United States is kind of at this point we're kind of like yeah, like our strengths are producing goalkeepers at this point. So
yeah,
it's kind of like okay, now this is the next one to go over there. But yeah, I think especially Ethan Horvath, like I think he's a great goalkeeper. I kind of consider him kind of similar to Bill Hamid in that he is a very good shot stopper,
yeah,
but not necessarily someone who's playing with the team in the back with his feet and stuff like that.
yeah.
And so yeah, it was kind of puzzling for me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I've got first-hand experience with Brad Guzan when he played for my English club as well. He played for Middlesbrough for a season in the Premiership, and he was awful, absolutely woeful. And I think I was watching the
Yeah.
highlights from the week when they were playing. Was it? I'm trying to think who it was, but well, you can name any amount of mistakes from Brad Guzan. It's just silly. So yeah, I'm still surprised he's in that squad. Should we go through the rest of the squad then, seeing as we're on that?
Yeah, one more thing about Guzan. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I've been watching Guzan play for the national team for a while now. I mean,
Mm,
especially as like a backup to Tim Howard for the longest time, and then yeah, he played at a couple teams I think over there. I forget exactly, but
yeah.
yeah, his form is his has dropped quite a bit,
Yes.
and the
Yeah.
amount of like mistakes that I don't know what it's coming from. It just seems like he's very like stiff and very much like unable to like move
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know.
Yeah, it's and he played for Aston Villa whilst he was over here, and he played for Middlesbrough. And yeah, it's annoying because he can play well, and there is times when you think actually he's done had a great game, but he's just not consistent, and he's just very prone to those weird mistakes. I mean that goal against that he conceded against us from Lucio Acosta. I mean it was just like I, I mean I play in goal in a six society. I'm thinking you just put your body behind it. That
Yeah, that one was
that's
very
all you
funny.
had to do is just put your body behind it, and then you've saved it. But
Yeah.
yeah, well, anyway,
Yeah, I think for him like expect for me and this is subjective, so
yeah.
I don't know, but I think he's always done really I think really well at the international level, except maybe I guess recently-ish. But yeah, I never I mean even in Atlanta like I don't know, like it's just not necessarily doing that well, but yeah, I think we should look at the rest of the roster.
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
It's I tell you what, there's a very wide range of roster members in there. Sorry, I keep saying squad, but you guys call it roster. That's things I've still got to get used to.
Yeah.
It's actually it's good to see. There's players from I was it Andrew Gutman from Charlotte Independence from USL. Well, that's quite
Yeah.
cool to see. And you've got players coming over from Europe. You've got players who've, yeah, it's actually quite a nice spread. So you've got players who've experienced different styles of football in different leagues, and I think that can only be a good thing for you guys.
Yeah, I think I think so. I was surprised to see the USL. I think there was another one as well. I don't remember their name, but for Gutman, I think he's on loan back to USL from. I think he got signed by Celtic.
Oh, right,
Um,
okay.
yeah, and so I think it was something weird where he got like I think he got loaned to Nashville, who's going to be an MLS team next year,
Yeah.
and I think like Chicago had his MLS rights, and they were like, okay, like you can't do this, and so he had to get loaned to a different USL side, and it was like a whole
Heck,
bunch of like MLS stuff. Um,
that's
but
crazy.
yeah, so I think it's a decent squad overall. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily 100% shocked that Knaus isn't on it, considering how his last call up went, where he was in the
Mm,
18 for one of the matches and then not even in the 18.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, in a 40-man roster, you never know. So I was kind of like, I could kind of see him being like on there as like a back, like a deeper backup. But yeah,
Yeah.
and for this tournament, Paul Arola is the only DC United player in for any of the countries on any of the rosters.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
because
that's crazy that.
yeah, well, Mora is out still,
Yeah.
and I think Segura is Costa Rican, but he didn't get the call up. And we have Durkin at the U20s,
Yeah.
and Moreno will be going for Venezuela for Copa America.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy, but I was just having a look at some of the other players that are in there. When you got who I've seen a couple of times now, Sargent from Werder Bremen. He's been looking decent.
Yeah.
And it's not, and then you've now got the not new Chelsea signing Pulisic, which is going to be great to see him in the Premiership now.
Yeah, I
Really
think
looking forward to that.
I'm really excited about it. I kind of liked that he was at Dortmund because their jerseys are so cool and like
Their, their
like
stadium's awesome. Their fans are
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah, and they did have Jurgen Klopp as well, who is I love him as a manager. I think he's brilliant.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, so it's like I'm sure it was difficult for him to choose to go to, Premiership, I
Mm.
mean Premier League. But yeah, that's exciting as well. I mean, Chelsea's a historic club, and I think it's also a great way to like, I mean, potentially like a great way to get more like Americans into like the sport. I mean,
Yeah,
I think one of the things Americans love are those like those, those sports people, but they're also like stars, like Tom
yeah,
Brady, whoever. Like, I think that's a really big thing, especially here.
yeah.
And so like I'm hoping that works out and that he does well under Sorry. I don't know
Well,
how
well,
that's gonna go, but
well. He might not even. Sorry, might not even be there at the end of in the start of next season. From big rumors over here. It looks
yeah.
like he's gone over to Juventus apparently.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, that was a new one. And then the replacement for him apparently could be either Frank Lampard, former Chelsea legend midfielder, or even the Chelsea women's boss, which was a bit of a surprise. She could be the first female manager in well, in the football league in
That would
England.
be that'd be pretty cool
That
for
would be
sure.
that would be something else.
I just hope that the fans don't do aren't dumb about that. Who knows? But
Oh, you know there will be. Come on,
yeah, that's
it's England.
unfortunate.
It's England. How far? This is probably going to sound horrible, and I probably will get some hate for it. But English fans are absolutely idiots. We're
Yeah.
we come up with some weird. We come up with some cracking chants, but then there's some chants that it's just like, really, do we need to be shouting about things like that?
Yeah,
But yeah,
I definitely heard those kind of things. Um, but yeah, so I mean, I'm excited about the Gold Cup. I
yep,
might be going to one or two of the games. The problem is you don't know like obviously who's going to be in like the semifinals, the finals yet, so I don't want to
yeah,
like buy tickets, and it's not necessarily who I want to see, especially if they're like expensive. But
yeah.
yeah, I might be going to some of those games. I think
Nice.
seeing the other rosters, Mexico in their 40-man roster only put out 29 people, which I think
Really?
was yeah. They have a lot of like a lot of their players. I'm not fully filled in
Yeah,
on Mexico and like stuff going on there, but there's a lot of like drama. Like Carlos Vela like denied the call up basically. I think someone else just had a
wow.
baby or something, and I think like even in the last World Cup there was a lot of like drama about some of the older players and like you pay and stuff like that, and so
Yeah,
it's yeah, I don't necessarily know what's going on there. I think it's either that they literally don't feel like anyone else they could call up is worth calling up, or that they're like extremely confident. And I
yeah,
think either one is possible considering Mexico is like, I mean, in CONCACAF, it's typically, the United States and Mexico are the top
yeah.
two teams. Um, yeah, so
That's
I don't know.
interesting. I wonder why. Has there been any reason as to why Vela's been like that? Has he come out with any statements or anything?
He made like a really strange tweet, like I think it's like it wasn't the thinking emoji, but it was like the like eyebrow raised emoji and a picture of himself, like right after the rumor started. And I mean, from what I know about Vela and his history, which is not much, but
Hmm.
he tends to not necessarily like he kind of just does his own stuff. He doesn't
Yeah,
necessarily want to get, I mean, there were criticisms of him in La Liga that he wasn't like so much into soccer. He wasn't like bought in, like
yeah,
that kind of stuff. So I think maybe it's just that kind of like personality where he's like, you know what, I want to stay here. LAFC has a really big chance to, I mean, potentially break records, really do some historic stuff,
yeah,
and so I think for LAFC, they must be really happy.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
There we go.
Cool. So yeah, that's the Gold Cup stuff. Let's move into our game week from last week.
Yep.
We went to Toronto and got a 0-0 draw,
Yeah.
and then flew really quickly over to Houston and got a loss, a 2-1 loss.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, what did you think of those two games, and like what do you think like where that leaves DC United?
Yeah. So we'll go over the Toronto game first. Because I actually managed to stay up for that one, and I actually watched the full match on that. So mean, I did my usual prediction of the lineup, and I went with the standard the 4-2-3-1. Wasn't expecting the the formation and the lineup that we had. I mean, it was a heavily rotated team. Uh, it was nice to see the players like Amarikwa getting a start, McCann getting a game, and everything. But I was just like, whoa! And I'll tell you what, it was actually great to see Hakeem Ward's getting his first game as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, but yeah, it was a bizarre one. And we started really brightly, I thought. It was nice to see us getting a couple of attacks then, and then it kind of wound down, and then we started becoming more defensive, and it was starting to remind me of previous games that we've had on the road against Columbus Crew, where we just sat back for the whole entire 45 minutes, and annoyingly, that's what it became. It was just a defensive performance, and to be fair, Hamid had his best game, I think, ever in a DC shirt. Um, and it was good to see that we actually managed to get the points, but from a fan point of view and an entertainment factor, I would have loved to have seen us have a bit more of a go. I would love to see us have a few more attacks. It was just a case of we were just clearing it, getting attacked clear, getting attacked, getting it clear, getting attacked, and I don't know from your point of view, but for me, I'd rather have seen us be a bit more adventurous going forward.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we got the result, which is great. I mean, we had something like 23% possession, which
Yeah,
you're not going to do much with that. And we weren't really trying to counterattack, I don't think. I mean,
no,
I guess we were technically, but like, just I guess just booting the ball out of bounds is not necessarily springing any kind of counterattack. So yeah, it was kind of disappointing. I guess seeing the roster, I kind of like was like, oh, okay, I see what's gonna happen
yeah,
here. But yeah, I mean, again, like you mentioned, I think seeing Akeem Ward his first DC United game was great. I've been really high on him even since like the preseason. I think he's done a really good job at Loudon,
yeah,
and has I think at least an assist. And so I think he's definitely like part of the future of DC United. I think along with someone like Pines who didn't play because he's
yeah,
injured, but like really good, really good start to the Loudoun United USL team and
yeah,
having them get time because like if they weren't playing at the Loudoun out at Loudoun United would Ben Olsen feel comfortable throwing them into a DC United game? Probably not, especially because
mm,
it's Ben Olsen, but also
yeah,
because like if you're not gonna get time at all, like I don't know how you're gonna come in and play against an MLS team.
yeah. It's true. I know it's actually touched on there. Pines, I think he's been an absolute revelation so far this season. And it's just been unfortunate that he has picked up that injury. Um, but yeah, again, from the going on Hamid's performance in that game, that was just absolutely something else. He pulled off some wonderful saves and just the volume of saves that he had to make as well. There was a stat that I caught up on, which is the Toronto have had the most attempts on goal without scoring in MLS history in a match, which was I
Yeah,
think they had 30, was it 35 attempts on goal?
35 or 36. Yeah, they keep
Yeah.
changing it. I don't know.
I think it ended up being 13 on target, but Hamid made 12 saves, which is
Jeez.
just unbelievable. I just,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I
just,
mean, I think one of the things like as a theme of the team and maybe this game is not a great example, but I
mm,
think having Bill Hamid is awesome and I would have
yeah,
literally probably no one else. Um, but I mean it's definitely not a sustainable thing. I think we have to start figuring out how to defend by attacking, how to keep possession,
yeah,
push up the field. You know, we can't necessarily sit back every single game. We're not going to win a championship doing that.
n-
Especially with our I don't think that like our squad isn't really built for that either at this point. We have Rooney, we have some talented wingers.
yeah.
Um, we're not necessarily built to just bunker for 90 minutes. So
Well, no, I think, and again, Rooney with recent post-match interviews, you can tell he's frustrated with the fact that we have been just sitting back and not actually getting forward at all. And he keeps saying that we need to learn from these games that where we've not come away with the 3 points and the fact that we've not actually scored a goal. And he did the same against said the exact same thing when we played the Dynamo where we lost 2-1. And it's just the fact that we're not necessarily learning from the mistakes that we've made in these games. We need to actually look back and actually go ahead and improve the way that we're playing football. And I just think from when we started the season against likes of Atlanta and RSL, where we scored many goals in those two games and looked great going forward. I don't know what's happened, but there seems to have been a massive change in the style of play, and I don't know whether that's been forced because of the injuries that we've had, or whether it's just we actually genuinely are just gone to a different style of play.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot there. I don't think the injuries help, obviously. I mean, and Moreno having his father pass.
Yeah,
And I'm glad that he went and took some time with his family and stuff. But
absolutely.
having him out and especially in that second game, we had Areola as a defensive midfielder. Like,
Yeah,
it's great that we feel comfortable doing that, but like, that's definitely not a solution to win games. I mean,
I'm
yeah,
surprised Segura didn't play at centre mid and had Ariola on the right. I thought Segura would be more suited because he's not as quick
yeah.
as Ariola, and I thought, yeah, he would have been better being in the centre, Segura, and having Ariola on the right, where he can dominate that wing and he can get past those defenders and actually get into the box and set Rooney up to get a goal.
Yeah, for sure. I think I 100% agree. If I had I was just thinking about this, like if I had just seen like a list of players, I would have been like, oh, Segura must be like starting in the defensive midfield. I mean,
Yeah,
definitely. I think it's a very Ben Olsen choice again. Like Ben Olsen trusts Areola anywhere on the field, and I
yeah,
think I think that's what it comes down to. And I think that's also he trusts Segura too, but I think he trusts Areola more than anyone else because we do know that Areola can defend in a
yeah,
tight spot and he can do pretty well at these different positions.
yeah,
It can be frustrating though, for sure.
yeah. And looking from a play development point of view as well, I was just thinking about as we were talking about it, it's nice to have a player who can be the jack of all trades, but he then loses his speciality. There's an example I was just thinking of in Arsenal Football Club, Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Now he's been thrown everywhere on the pitch, but he's now become a player who will be able to be okay at left back, okay at right back. He's able to do a job, but he doesn't do it incredibly well. So he doesn't make a position his own position as such. He's just one of those players that can be dotted around. And my fear is if Olsen keeps doing that, Ariola will become that kind of player, where actually we might have someone who is more suited to a right wing role, and Ariola, even though he's better than Segura at the right wing, because we haven't got anyone else to play in that central defensive role, that's where Ariel's going to go, where we end up losing out that pace on the wing, where yes, we might concede a goal, but we'd probably score two because Ariola's on the right. And I think we've got to lose the fear factor of conceding the goals, and we've got to trust ourselves to score more than the opposition.
Right. Yeah, I think yeah, if it, I mean, I definitely would have put Areola out there. I mean, I think one of the I mean, I don't know because I don't talk to Wayne Rooney, obviously, but I would guess one of the frustrations is that he knows that there's more talent here than what is being displayed.
Yeah,
And with Acosta, with TT Rodriguez, and with I mean, even Paul Areola, like that's a
mm,
really solid top four. Like
yeah,
that's really talented. And the fact that we're having so many issues scoring from open play
yeah,
is a really big issue. And whether that comes down to players not playing up to what they can, not holding themselves accountable, or coaches not putting them in positions to succeed,
yeah,
it's a problem. And ultimately, I think it's probably a little bit of both. Um, but I think that's kind of what, I'm guessing that's kind of also what Rooney was trying to say is like, we've got to like get better here. Like this isn't like we lucked out getting that point. We shouldn't have gotten that probably. Like
yeah,
um, yeah, it's frustrating. But during that Houston game, the first goal we scored was
Oh,
Segura making a good cross,
yeah.
and then Rooney scored an open play, and I was like, at the time, I'm like, oh, this is great, we're back, we have people linking up. We stole a ball like in the midfield. We linked up with
Mm,
Acosta, then Segura on the wing, and brought it back in, because like tradition like this year we haven't been scoring that as many goals from open play versus set pieces and stuff. And
yeah.
set pieces are important, but like it's not necessarily our squad is definitely not one you would think that is built for like that like
Yeah.
like we don't have a bunch of 7 feet guys on the field at all times, except for the few games that we did. But like
Yeah.
we really need to start figuring out how to score from open play, because that's why we have TT Rodriguez, that's why we have Acosta, that's why we have Paul Arriola, and that's especially why we have Wayne Rooney. And if we can't do that, then it's going to be very hard to stay on the top of the East, and it's going to be
Yeah.
very hard to win any playoff games.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with that. We do need to find a way to break that open play barren spell that we seem to be having.
Yeah, so that leads us into the next official MLS match against the New England Revolution
Yeah,
on, I believe, Saturday, I think.
correct.
Um,
Yes.
and so I'm gonna be there, which is exciting because I've
Oh,
never been
nice.
to Gillette Stadium, and so
You're gonna be one of those few fans that actually will turn up then.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, and I think it's also Bruce Arena's first match as their new manager.
Oh,
So,
that's gonna
yeah.
be a good one then.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So I'm like, maybe we'll have, like a couple more hundred fans there. Um, but I'm excited. I mean, I think this is a really good opportunity to reset and start progressing as
Yeah.
a team. And I think, what do you think of, like, first of all, just Bruce Arena coming in, being the coach, and second of all, like, what do you think of that being the first game? How much energy do you think that'll give them? And yeah, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Bruce Arena is a bit of a legend in MLS, isn't he? So that's gonna be it's gonna be an interesting because he's been out of the game for a little bit now. So and it's going to be interesting to see what he can do with the squad that he has. Because they're not a bad squad, but they're not a great squad. Um, I, I'm trying to name any of their players though is quite difficult. Just off the top of my head because they don't have any sort of star players from what I can remember. Let's just have a quick look at their sort of team. Whilst I'm loading that up, it's good. It's certainly going to be a interesting game from the fact that his first game is against us. Obviously, he spent a bit of time over in DC, and I'm intrigued to see how the fans react to it. Oh, oh wow! Oh, there you go. I was just loading up their team. They've got Michael Mancian, who was a former Chelsea player. We've got Carlos Hill, who was a former Aston Villa player. So they've got a couple of players that I've recognised in there, but not really anybody
Yeah,
else.
yeah. Diego Fagundes is like he had some good years in
Yeah,
MLS. I think he's been with the Revolution for a little bit. He's a dangerous player. I don't think that recently he is though, so I don't know. Um, but yeah, I
uh,
think it will be interesting to see how the Revolution um, respond to him. And
yeah,
also, I mean, he's gonna get booed in pretty much every stadium, considering he was the coach when we didn't make the World Cup. And so,
yeah.
yeah, I mean,
That's not going to be good for you guys. Well, not good for anyone really. But
yeah, that's
it's
definitely. I'm not the person who boos people, but I definitely am at games where people boo Guzan or Michael Bradley, or
yeah,
Altidore is a big one. A lot of the bigger personalities, I think, and so I'm guessing Arena gets it worst, but Bruce Arena was chilling. Like, he didn't have to come back. He didn't have to coach ever again, really. I don't
yeah,
think. And so like he took that down in as a project, and I think that's commendable. I definitely that's one of the teams that is like, I
I mean, I
don't
think
seem to
you
have much of a future. So I don't know.
no, you were being. I think you were being kind, calling it a project.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, how many points have they got at the moment in the league?
They're not doing as badly as like Colorado, but I think they have like 11 or something. And
Oh, that's genuinely surprising.
yeah, I think,
Oh,
I
they've got
mean,
12 points they've
yeah,
got.
12. There you go. Yeah,
Uh, yeah, it's definitely not as bad as Colorado who are on 5 points. Flipping
yeah,
heck. That's
yeah.
not.
And they finally won a game. They were at 2 points until this week. So
Yeah,
yeah, like,
yeah.
but
It's
yeah,
let's have a look. Right, so their record at the moment, at home anyway, they've New England have currently won three games, lost four, but tied zero. Which, funnily enough, is kind of the opposite to when they've played away, which is 0 wins, four losses, and three ties. So yeah, it's they're not doing great.
yeah,
They've lost more than they've won at home, so we could put a big dent into that and make them lose their fifth game. They've only scored 14 goals so far this season and conceded 31. So they are they're the leakiest defense in the Eastern Conference. They're the leakiest defense in the league at the moment. So if we can't score goals this weekend, I don't think we'll be able to score many goals ever from the looks of it.
yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, I wonder if the new coach, because like change is sometimes inspiring. Like,
Yeah,
I'm curious if like that will give them like a more incentive to do their jobs and play
yeah,
well. Um, but also I'm curious, like, so Paul Arriola won't be playing, which is not great because he did
yeah,
get
because
that
he's
red card,
suspended, isn't he? Yeah,
which looked pretty bad, honestly. Have you seen that replay?
I have. Yeah, it's just like he could have that genuinely he could have done really well and made that look like an accident, but he just didn't.
Yeah.
It was clear and obvious, and he deserved to be sent off. But he's got that in him, unfortunately.
Yes, he
He's
does.
got that aggressive streak. I
Yeah,
don't know whether that's because is he Californian, I think?
he's I think he's from where is it? Chula Vista? Yeah,
Yeah.
California.
Yeah, whether it's because it's where he's from and they just have a bit more of a aggressive streak from over that side of the country. But yeah, every time I've seen him play, he's got that little bit of a moment, and you think, "Ooh, he's
Calm
going on the
down.
edge there." Yes.
Yeah, no, yeah, he's definitely one of the guys like if he feels like he's been wronged or someone like fouled him and he didn't get the call, he will definitely like go and pay it back and he does it
Yeah.
very aggressively.
Yeah.
And so I mean or he'll do things like kick the ball as hard as he can like away or something like that. I've seen him do that a couple times. But yeah, like maybe yeah, that was quite a bad quite a
Yeah.
bad thing. And so they gave him a yellow card at first, but then yeah, like the replay, you kind of got to give a red for that. If that's
Um,
not a red, then I don't think anything is.
I
But
I didn't even realize it was overturned from a yellow card. That wasn't shown on the replays from what I watched anyway. That's
yeah,
interesting to hear.
yeah, I think maybe I don't know, but I'm guessing that like the ref missed the follow through, like
Yeah.
and they just gave a yellow for like the like just whatever
I mean,
he started it. But
yeah, I mean, it was a clear trip as well. I mean,
yeah.
he was just doing all things wrong there. It's just like, I think he was probably thinking, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it in style.
Yeah, and it's like the last minutes of the game, so he's probably just tired and ready to.
Yeah,
But yeah, so he's not going to be playing. I think I saw today that Junior Moreno is back training.
cool.
So that's good. So I'm
Yeah,
I'm hoping that he plays. Um, but I'm curious how we line up with no Paul Areola. And
yeah,
also considering our offensive troubles anyway, do we consider a change in formation? Yeah, I'm curious.
yeah. Um, I'm just trying to think how long is Pines out for now? Has he got much longer left, or will he
He
be back this
has.
weekend as well?
So he got injured, I think, around like May 5th, 6th.
Yeah,
And so he'll probably be back in like 2 weeks.
yeah, fair enough. So, if we were going to change formation, I'd imagine we'd probably go to maybe as a 4-4-2, if anything. Um, but all I can think of is we'll just stick to 4-2-3-1, and Segura replaces Ariola, and Moreno goes back to where he was before, and we just carry on as we did beforehand.
Yeah,
That's the only thing I can think of.
I think that's possible. I mean, for 4-4-2, we typically like, I don't know the correct term, but like when the opposing team is in possession in their half, we typically shift into a more like with lines 4-4-2,
Mm,
where the wingers drop back, and then you have Acosta and Rooney up top to
yeah,
selectively like press or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
But I was thinking like maybe we go to like a 4-1-4-1 instead of a 4-2-3-1,
Okay.
which we did try last year and it failed. But
Yeah,
we're much better defensively than we were last year, especially in the beginning of the
true.
year. We
Yeah,
have Knaus. So it's definitely something that maybe, Olsen's thinking about.
yeah,
And if it's against a side like New England, maybe it's something that we try, considering that, they've scored 14 goals. That's not terrible, but
yeah,
our defense is pretty good. So maybe we have, we'd try that.
yeah.
I could see us putting like Segura and Acosta in like uh like in the middle there, and then maybe Stieber and TT Rodriguez as the wingers, maybe.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
It's
keep forgetting about
possible.
Staber.
Yeah,
It's a bit.
same.
He looks all right at the beginning against Toronto. I thought he seemed to be getting himself about a bit, and I think we might actually be seeing him coming out of his well. He's never really played that well recently, but he's starting to. I think he's starting to pick up now, and the fact that he's getting a bit more game time is probably doing his confidence of the world of good as well.
Yeah,
Um,
he had that like, so we got like a shot off in the first 5 minutes or whatever, and he
yeah,
was able to do that. And like, yeah, I definitely think putting him in for 90 minutes again like has got him feeling better for sure.
yeah. So we could potentially use him on the right rather than Segura, and maybe keep Segura to the bench possibly.
Yeah, that's true too.
It's yeah, it's nice to actually think that we've actually got some options now. Like,
Yeah.
so last season, it was a difficult one because we just kind of stuck to the same thing the whole entire season, and we have done for however the last few years. And now this season, we've shown that we can actually play really well using the 3-4-3 formation. Um, as well was it or 3-6-1 formation or whatever, however it was
Yeah.
laid out. And the fact that we've got the 4-2-3-1 as well, and it's just nice to be able to chop and change and make it work to the roster that we've got actually now, rather than being we fit the roster into one formation and that's it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we wouldn't, I don't necessarily know if we would do it this week, but even
Mm,
with the three back with Donovan Pines back there, I was kind of like this is definitely a temporary thing, but
yeah,
like just thinking about it more, like I think we were able to definitely cut out crosses. Like you're not gonna cross into, 6'3" and above people. And if
yeah,
you do, you're gonna fail, which is what happened in Columbus. The first
yeah,
time we played Columbus, they just kept trying to nail in balls there. Didn't
yeah,
work. And so that kind of forces teams to try to play more direct, more into the middle. And we have Moreno and Canals who are really good at clogging that up.
yeah,
And so, yeah, I think that's another option in the long term too, when Pines gets back to
yeah,
like selectively use, and having these multiple options and flexibility when everyone's healthy, it can help us like, catch teams by surprise how we line up. Maybe
yeah,
they can't prepare as well for us, or like they can't determine their game plan 100% beforehand, because yeah, there's definitely different trade-offs there, because like I mentioned, nailing and crosses against those three defenders
yeah.
was just not going to work.
I'll tell you what surprised me about Pines as well when he before he got injured is his pace. For a big lad, he's got some legs on him.
Yeah, for sure. He's
I
incredibly fast.
Yeah, I was not expecting that even keeping up with Zardes. I was just like, oh wow, look at him go. And he's got it with him and he's got the ball back and it was just outstanding. But a question for you, when Pines is fit, would you be starting him each game?
It's hard. I mean, I don't think so if we do the 4-2-3-1, because that
Mm.
pairing of Brilliant and Birnbaum has been so successful in that formation.
Yep.
I think it definitely makes the case for the 3-5-2 or whatever you call it,
Yep.
stronger for sure. Because I mean, having Donovan Pines is great. He's played amazingly, and I think even on like corners and stuff, he can jump, and he's so tall, and like that's a real dangerous thing. You have Birnbaum and Donovan Pines
Yeah.
up there for a corner. Like that's you probably have the opposing team's two center backs covering them, and so like
Yeah.
you leave other options, and so I don't know. It's hard. I don't know.
Yeah. Fair enough. So I think for me, I probably would have him in my lineup, and I would actually go revert. I would actually make our formation the default as the 3-4-3, 3-6-1, 3-5-2, whatever we use ahead of those three defenders. Because each game so far, they've looked absolutely solid at the back, and I think that's if we're going to build the foundation from the back, we've actually looked decent going forward as well when we've had those three there. I mean, apart from the game against Minnesota where we had that goal wrongly ruled out, I think that would have just completely changed the game for us. If it wasn't for that, I think we would have had three really good games with Pines at the back, and I think we'll probably be looking back on these last few games that we've had in a different light. But for me, I'd have Pines in my team every day of the week, I think, right now.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely hard to argue with that considering his form and stuff. So
Uh,
yeah, so let's talk about as the last closing thing. Like, so yeah, we're going to the Revolution.
yep.
What do you think the score was going to be?
Um, Going on, if we're basing it on recent form, I'd probably go to a 2-0 win, I reckon, to DC United. And it's going to be tricky, though, to say for definite because obviously they've got Bruce Arena back and, well, they've got the new manager. And if it's anything like it is over here in England, there's always that new manager smell, I want to call it.
Yeah,
Where
Manchester
it.
United. Yeah.
um, where the previous form just goes out the window and it is a completely fresh, clean start. Um, but when you look at their previous form, it's going to be, and the fact that they've been so bad at the back, it's going to be difficult to say that they're going to get a clean sheet. So I reckon we're going to get goals in this game. And I reckon the fact that we're so good at the back, I think we'll end up winning 2-0.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much in line with what I think. I think if the last week of games wasn't great, I don't think it's a reason to panic. But I do
Yeah,
think, if we do drop points here, like that is a reason to start wondering what's going on.
yeah,
We need to get back into form. We need to start scoring from open play. And so, yeah, I think we got to win by multiple goals, and I think it'll happen.
yeah. Cool.
So yeah, that'll just about do it. Do you want to let everyone know like where they can find you, your all your stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So on Twitter, it's at DC United Kingdom. On Facebook is at DC United Kingdom FC, and the website is dcunitedkingdom.com.
Sweet. Cool. All right. Thank you so much for being here. I had a
You're
great
very
time.
welcome.
I hope we can do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll have to get you on my show at some point.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Cheers, man.